You mentioned you were speaking lately about motherhood, and I'd quite like to touch upon that. I know that your podcast, you like to talk about life stages that you go through, and I'm actually quite late to this game. I've got four brothers, so I kind of grew up feeling like I wasn't a girl as much.
Mhm.
And it was only like a few years back that I started actually acknowledging my periods and my cycles and how that has such an effect and an impact on like everything around me. And I think for such a long time, and I think probably a lot of women feel like this, like their goal is to have babies. For me, that was a massive thing. Well, that's what I want to do. I kind of put that on the back burner because I just didn't want it to be like you were saying about the houses in Australia. I wanted to know that it was coming from me and not coming from
Mhm.
everything else around me. And I just kind of thought, it's really difficult to realign and rebalance what it is your true calling sounds so cheesy, but like what it is that you're really meant to do. I don't know if you had any kind of thoughts or wisdom on that at all.
I think as women, we're extremely intuitive. And I think
Mm,
what you've just shared is so powerful for everyone listening to just have these moments where you just stop, reflect, breathe, feel your body, ask yourself why. Have those moments where you just check in with yourself regularly. I think always been the kind of person that knows that motherhood is something that I want. It's something I've always felt. I'm also one of four. You've got a big family too. There's an 8-year gap between me and the little one. So I kind of helped raise her. I think what's interesting in this conversation of motherhood is we live in a time and we're very lucky as females because we have so much opportunity. We can have careers, we can have businesses, and I think that's such an incredible thing. But I think it does create this like fork in the road experience where you're like, am I going to be a mum or am I going to have a career? Right. And if I'm going to do both, then how's that going to work? Like it feels a bit difficult to kind of reconcile everything. And it does feel like we need to choose. And it's something I've absolutely been thinking about. I got married this year, and that's something I hope is in the cards for me in the next couple years. And so for me, it's been about thinking about, okay, I already know that I want to have kids. I've worked out that that's an authentic, genuine thing that I want. For me, it then looks like, okay, well, what kind of mother do I want to be? And what are my personal goals? Like what kind of life? What does that look like? So in my head, when I think about me having kids, I don't want to be in an office every day. And so a conscious and very intentional decision I made 6 months ago was I stopped working for a law firm and I started doing consulting, which means I'm working on my own time at home. It's super flexible. I manage my own clients. And now I also have a little bit more time to work on the podcast. But my kind of vision and where I see myself going, what my, let's say, balance would look like is I'd still like to have my own personal endeavors and pursuits, but I also want to be a very hands-on mum.
mm,
So thinking about what am I actually achieving today and what's that going to look like in a few years' time? And what does that mean for the combination of that experience is really important because if I stayed in corporate, that means I'm only going to get 2-3 months off. Like, yes, me leaving now and going into consulting means I'm giving up a consistent salary. It means I'm starting a business from scratch. I mean, not from scratch. It's obviously been a little bit more of an intentional process. But what I'm trying to get at is I think the starting point is exactly what you shared, like work out what's authentic for you and then start thinking. I think as females, we have to think a bit more long term about career and business and whatnot because whether we like it or not, it does have an impact in a way it doesn't on men. We're the ones that carry, we're the ones that deliver, we're the ones that need to recover. And so you are going to have a break in your career, but what kind of career do you want? And
mm,
what kind of organization are you working for? Are there a lot of other parents in the firm? Is that something that is open? Is it a family friendly company? If you're working somewhere that's really corporate and people come back after 2 months, it's just, there's no wrong and right. It's just, does
mm,
that align with what you envision you want for yourself? And obviously we can sit here and chat about what we think we might want and it might look very different when it happens, but it's more less aligning yourself so you can have an experience that just feels authentic for you. So
mm.
sorry, I don't know if I went off on a tangent. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, don't worry. I think my the way my mind works, it's all kind of like this anyway. So I kind of just do this until something hits, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. Um, So, confidence and purpose. I think this is so key to, so if we're talking about kind of like where we want to be and trying to balance out a life, I think it will have to kind of go to something like what we all kind of heading towards, sort of thing. What is our purpose, and do we have the confidence to kind of make that happen? What has your experience been like with confidence along your journey?
I'm going to say something a little controversial, but you know, there's a segment of people who know exactly what they want and they do it, right? And they know what they're passionate about, they know exactly what they want to do in life, and they go for it. But that's, I think, actually a minority. I think for the majority of us, we have ideas, we try, we execute, and then confidence follows. It's not a case of I feel so confident being a podcaster, so I'm going to start a podcast. No. you know the beginning, you hate the sound of your own voice. It takes you months to go from having the idea to actually executing. All those things play a role. But then once you do one episode, 2, 3, 4, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, yeah, then you become confident at doing the thing. And I actually think anything that's not this approach holds people back because they wait until they feel confident. How can you feel confident in something you've never done before? I think what's more powerful, and the way I've shifted kind of using this thinking, is I'm confident that I will be consistent and have an open mind and continue learning to become good at this skill, right? I have confidence in myself and my ability to learn and grow, that whatever I start, I know that I'm going to continue to progress in. That doesn't mean I'm going to be good at it when I start. Doesn't mean I'm going to be confident at the thing, but I'm confident in my ability to grow in doing that. And I think when you shift that, it takes you out of that perfectionist thinking, like I need to have it all worked out and I need to know everything before I start, or feeling like an imposter. Because I'm very well acknowledging I'm not, let's say tomorrow I want to start a F&B business. I've got no idea about F&B. I'm going to learn as I go, but I have the confidence that I'm going to have the discipline and consistency to grow and learn as much as I can in the process and continually tweak. So that's kind of my thoughts around confidence. And I feel like it's helped me push myself out of my comfort zone in moments where it could have held me back otherwise.
I think that's a really lovely way of looking at it, because I think when you think about the idea of confidence, it's it's such, for me, it's such a grand thing. So it's like, oh, how am I gonna just learn that? But if you look at it like you said, you're not trying to be something that you're not. You're not trying to have something that you don't yet have. All you're worrying about is what is in your control and what you can do. And like you say, being consistent is something that you can do. And knowing that whatever kind of happens, you're going to be able to navigate it and figure it out. And I think if that's where you want to be, on the other side of that is what we were talking about previously, that having that balance, being able to reflect, to be able to keep yourself on a kind of good, um, a smooth,
Momentum.
yeah, momentum type thing, so that you can then execute this well. And then when you kind of drop off and then you're like, ah, I've got none of this left, you can kind of like fit back into that and go there. It's a bit of a, like a dot to dot game, isn't it, really?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
100%. And there's this, concept that people who are confident are loud and like the one that has the most attention in the room. And I don't think that's true at all. I think confidence is not other people believing in you, it's you believing in yourself and giving yourself that jet fuel to do what you need to do. Because so many times we think, oh, well, if work just acknowledged me for this promotion, like I'd feel good enough. You'll never feel good enough until you feel good enough for yourself. So confidence for me is an inside out thing.
so true. And it's, oh gosh, when you said that, I literally just had like a little brain spark, because it's, yeah, and I think it can be quite difficult, like what we were kind of touching on previously. It can be quite difficult to be able to decipher between what is going on out there and what is going on in here, sort of thing, to be able to get that confidence. And one of the things that I started to realize is you really have to be able to kind of, it sounds terrible, but ignore people, like
You
not
have to.
listen to people, because I feel like, and this is something that I've started to learn recently, mannerisms, body language, and everything. people, I could be out in a group full of people, like random people that I don't know, sort of thing, and I could project the real me, and I'll feel really confident about that. But then I'll see something, or something will happen, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, that kind of completely dissipates everything that I felt in that one moment. And I think when you are building that confidence with yourself, you start to build a bit more of a wall, a bit more of an aura around you that can't really be penetrated by all the different things. And previously, I thought I was just trying to navigate the words that people were saying, which was, that wasn't too bad. But then when you have to start navigating the actual depths of everything that's going on in the world around you, yeah, it does become a little bit more difficult. But once you do that, you are then, oh gosh, it's amazing because I honest to God just feel it makes you invincible. You could like, and I don't think people understand that we can actually be invincible. We can actually all be kind of superheroes if we want to.
Yeah.
It's just kind of getting to that place within ourselves and building that strength and that force field around us.
Exactly. I also look at it a little bit like a foundation, right? So
Mm,
I think you have to go through, I mean, I've been through experiences where, you experience conflict with people, or people will say something about you that really throws you, and you think, is that true? Is that how people perceive me? Or go through experiences where you have rejection and all these things hurt. But what it does is it gives you that one more piece of the block to add to your foundation, where you bounce back and you go, actually, I've learned what I need to from this situation, and that doesn't detract from my value, right? You continue to build. So I think you can still be building your confidence, but have these experiences where you kind of question yourself, because that helps you go deeper and re-add blocks to your confidence foundation, shall we say. And the stronger that gets, the less rocked you are by other people's words or thoughts, because it's an inside out thing. Whatever you think and feel about yourself is what you're going to be paying attention to. Like, there's this great idea. If I said to you right now, wow, I love your yellow shirt, you'd be like, I'm not wearing a yellow shirt. But if I said to you, I don't know, something mean, like, you're really dumb, right? That's the first thing that came to mind. You are actually a really intelligent person. You might actually internalize that and be like, oh, is that what she actually thinks? Rather than saying, like, I'm not wearing a yellow shirt, like, no, I'm actually intelligent.
mm,
We internalize it because it's the opinion of somebody else.
mm,
So when we have confidence, we can easily say, you know what? I know my value and I know who I am. And that's fine. You can have your opinion, because we're not all supposed to be liked by everyone. Like, I don't like everyone in the world. So I can't expect that of everyone else around me. And when you realize that people are just walking projections of whatever they've got in their own mind, their own beliefs, you stop internalizing what they think. Like, yes, there's a role for, okay, is there truth in what this person's saying? Can I learn? But if you have that knowing of who you are and your value, it doesn't rock you as much. It just becomes a comment like, hey, I'm not actually wearing a yellow shirt, but thanks for your comment.
yeah. It's so true, and I think it's um that reactiveness as well. This is what I learned, and I think the more we kind of fall, and the more that we have those things and have to manage those, the more we're gonna, like you say, be able to build up our foundations. But I think a lot of people kind of would step back completely at any kind of fear or thing against who they are, or because they don't necessarily have that strength to kind of navigate it. So people would just
Mm,
kind of separate themselves out. Um, but I think when we fall, it's like that saying, it's about how many times you get back up, really,
that's right.
and the resilience of it. Um, I think those first few times that you fall, they feel pretty devastating.
Oh, they
And
hurt.
oh my goodness, they hurt. It's, yeah.
But they're the
Um,
first block. They're the
it,
first block.
yes, and this is what I've started to realize. It slowly gets less and less and less. Like the distance between the pain that I feel after these falls and like the outcome becomes less.
Yes.
And I've kind of like, you kind of step a bit higher and you're like, oh, okay, even if I do fall right now, I'm kind of okay with that because I know how to stand.
That's right.
um,
And,
and
I always am a champion of getting help as well. Like sometimes we're in moments that feel too big. It feels like we can't handle it on our own. And I'm very vocal. Like I've worked with a therapist and she's helped me so much understand the way my brain works, how I process things, what my inner beliefs are, and sometimes you do need help going workshopping some of these things. And that actually also helps you build your foundation because it gives you a clearer frame to understand yourself. So I just want to acknowledge, like, whether it's a friend you want to speak to or a therapist or anyone, sometimes you need help moving through these things, and that's okay too.
it's so true. I do think that could be quite a difficult thing for a lot of people. So I think there's definitely, again, it's just exploring though, isn't it? It's exploring, trying to figure out what
Being
works for
open.
you. Yeah, being open. I thought it was very interesting what you said about in regards to the yellow shirt like analogy thing you did, because I think when it comes to the physical things, it's so much easier to kind of just be like, oh, well, that's not the case. If you tell me I'm
Black
wearing
and
a yellow,
white.
yeah, exactly. I'll be like, no, but then as soon as it turns into this whole subjective, opinionated kind of realm, I personally find it becomes a lot more difficult to be able to navigate the truth. And I think that's probably when the whole balance comes in. Like you say, you have to take that time to look into yourself, take that time to do the things around you that you need to do, but really just don't overstep the self. Because I think, as you say, it's all inside out, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we're a tribal community-based species, and so if you strip it all away, we care about what other people think because back in the day, not belonging to a tribe or being outsed or not included literally meant life or death, right? So it's
Yeah.
programmed into our minds to get on with people, to be included, to feel like we belong. But in today's day and age, that life or death metric, it's not the same thing, and there's so many people on this planet. It's actually okay if people have different opinions of you because it's not a matter of life or death.
Mm,
So I think always starting from a point of just understanding why you are reacting to things and not
mm,
judging yourself for it, not getting frustrated, also helps you just put a bit of space between what's happening and how you're feeling. You can say, okay, I know I'm feeling this way because that's how I'm wired to think. Is there truth in what this person's saying? Can I learn something? Because sometimes people give you feedback and it's blunt and you think, okay, is there actually truth? If there is, it's a learning opportunity. If there's not, that's a choice you need to make to step away and not onboard that feedback as gospel, and just
yeah.
come back to your truth. But it's a little bit of a process. And I think, like I said, I've been able to kind of pick this apart through working with someone who's explained neuroscience to me and how our subconscious works. And so I can literally see when my brain is jumping in with examples of why I shouldn't be doing something or why I'm not good enough. Like I can see it doing its thing. And I'm like, hey, cool. I acknowledge you. I see you doing your thing, but no thanks. Not today.
This is why I think balance, like everything you talk about, is so important because to be able to get through these places, to be able to navigate and feeling like those things, you really need to be on top of everything. Everything does. We're all connected. It's all connected. It's like one blimming big web going on over here. So,
It is.
um, yeah. Sorry, I did have a thought, but it just disappeared out my brain.
All good, all good. But it honestly is. It's about knowing yourself. It's about knowing what's true for you, and it's about, I think, constantly growing in that. Right? We're never going to get to a point where like, I know myself so well, and that's it. I'm done. Pack it up for the rest of your life. Like you're
Yeah.
constantly going to be learning what feels the most balanced for me. What can I learn about myself? You're constantly going to be. I feel like once you start going deep, there's no bottom to that pit. You can continue learning about yourself forever, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's a part of the journey of life. But yeah, just knowing yourself, what makes you feel balanced, what your priorities are, at least helps you create an immediate reality that's aligned for you.
Mm,
And that's, I think, is so important to, when we go through these moments where we fall off the horse, we're having a really bad day, someone said something. If you have already an existing level of, I'm living an authentic life, that frame to view then things that happen just makes it a little bit more authentically you, if that makes
mm.
sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And I think when you do take those tumbles and those flat falls to the floor, it's I think a little bit of you cracks into place a little bit more because you've kind of had everything stripped away from you, and then you're rebuilding from like a blank canvas, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I keep having all these brilliant thoughts as we're talking, and I'm like, oh yes, that's so true, that's so true, and then it just kind of disappears out of my head. um,
Oh, good. You're going to think
yes.
about it in 1 hour and be like, oh, damn.
Sorry, I missed that. What did you say?
I said you're going to have the thought in an hour and you're going to be like, oh, that was
I
such a good one.
know, I know, it's so annoying, and I know exactly what's going to happen as well. I'm going to be editing this and going through this, and I'm going to be like, oh yeah, that's what I was going to say, that's what I was going to say. But then I guess
Just add it in as a voiceover.
oh yeah, oh, that's what I was going to say actually. Yeah, so the growing, one thing that I've had to really figure out how to step away from is it being such an urgency or like a competition or a like I need to get there, life or death type thing. Because when I do, all of that balance stuff goes out the window. And although you kind of feel like you're getting there quicker, in the long run, you're not really because you don't have the proper resources or tools going on in the background and inside to be able to kind of keep that energy and stamina going. So yeah, I think that's quite important. I think to make sure you're taking those beats and those rests and really connecting instead of just being like, okay, let's do that. And I think you make most mistakes when you do that as well. And then all the impulses can kind of come out, and I think it's about coming back to a more natural, organic place of thriving.
Yeah. There's no time frame on growth, on healing, on life. Like, you know, who's to say time's moving too fast? Like, if tomorrow's your last day, you wouldn't think time was moving fast at all. You know,
Mm,
you don't know how long you've got in this life, and you just have to have every experience and be present in every moment because it is a precious gift, our experience on earth. And there's no right time, and comparison and social media makes it very difficult sometimes to compare, and you think, oh, I'm 28, I'm 29, I'm 30, and look what these 30-year-olds doing, or what these 25-year-olds are doing, or what this person achieved at 20. Like, I'm 28 and I haven't even gotten close. Everyone's on their own path. And
mm,
so creating the most authentic life you can, like one thing you said before is ignore other people. It's about staying in your own lane, and yes, that means
yeah,
ignoring other people.
yeah, that's kinda like that. Yeah, staying in your own lane.
Because it's uniquely yours. It's never going to be a copy paste of someone else. So you have to
I,
honor it.
I think that's the thing to remember, isn't it? We're all unique. No one can actually be us. I do kind of forget that sometimes, though. Sometimes I do find it hard to be like, okay, what am I really bringing to the table here? What am I actually? And I think that's probably something that a lot of people would think in regards to the amount that's going on in the world, and then just the fact that it's all accessible at our fingertips. It's like, yeah, I think it takes a lot of strength to be able to really tune into yourself and kind of just shut all of that off.
Yeah,
Sorry.
one big thing that's helped me is having a bit of discipline with my phone, because it's so easy to just get lost in scrolling in the online world and forget about the world we actually live in. And so, first hour of the day and last hour of the day is a no phone rule. And that's really helped me be in my own head when I'm resting and when I'm waking up. It's kind of like how I'm ending the day and starting the day is with myself, not with whatever everyone else is thinking. And that has been a really important habit that I've built.
That's so powerful. I like that. Yes, because when I put my phone down and I actually just like acknowledge nature around me, and I think it's such a big thing as well, just acknowledging nature, the
Mm-hmm.
trees, the elements, and the way that it's all just going on. I think when you do that and you start to actually become in tune with it as well,
Yeah,
it's like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of cool. Not gonna
it
lie, I
is
felt
nice.
like Snow White a few times and Cinderella a few times with all the animals coming up to me. I really want to own a squirrel. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but
No, I love that too. I always have this, I always tell my husband, like, if I was in the middle of the forest and I saw a bear, like, I'd connect with it. He's like, please don't, it'll kill you.
I love that. I love that.
I'm like, no, trust me. I'm like, I know I have this connection. Like even a lion in the desert, he's like, oh my God, take me everywhere, please.
Ah, you know what? I went for a little walk and I bumped into some cows. It was really fun actually because you know how they're usually like behind all these fences. They were just in the field, like just roaming
Wow.
around. And I was like,
They're
yeah,
so cute.
I know it was like those Highland ones, and oh gosh, I just love it. And I did. I just stood there, just trying to connect with them for ages. I wanted to stroke one. I kind of got a little stroke in, but I didn't. And then I kind of scarpered and got a bit scared.
I would have
So
been like, you know, people hug trees, a bit like a cow hugger.
yay! Oh my god, I so would have loved to hug that cow. Oh gosh, it was so fun. I'm still working on a deer. I haven't managed to get a deer. I've seen a few of those walking around on walks and whatnot. But they're very easily startled. So as soon as you kind of like take a little step towards them, they're like, ah!
Manifesting you a deep
Oh,
connection.
thank you. Oh gosh, yeah. But I think it's like animals. I think they're so like when you think about it, it's so pure. Like, well, actually, some animals. I think your husband's probably right about the whole pet thing. Oh gosh. Well, we've actually only got like a few minutes left, so I think maybe this is probably a good time to kind of wrap it up. I don't know
Sure.
if there's anything final that you would like to talk about or discuss before we do.
No, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything else. But
One thing I guess I would like to say then is what is one of your best, I don't want to say best, what you feel is one of your most effective tips, practical tips that people can take away from this?
I think so, you know, we're heading into the new year. A lot of people will at this time be trying to start new habits, right? Or stop kind of bad habits. Like maybe there's something in this episode you've picked up, like you want to start the no phone rule, right? The biggest tip I have is if you are going to stop a habit, you need to replace it with something.
Mm,
Because if you just stop doing something, right, if you're like, okay, I'm just not going to go on my phone for an hour before bed, you're going to sit there twiddling your thumbs and having every urge to open Instagram. I promise you, because that is the wiring that you've got from how many years. So you have to be intentional with what you're replacing any habit with. So you might say, okay, I'm going to have a hot shower. I'm going to do a little bit of yoga. I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to play some cards, whatever, right? Read. You have to be intentional with how you're replacing it because it's very challenging to stop a habit if you're not being intentional in that way. And the other thing I'd say, kind of in the same theme, is you might have, you know, maybe you're starting to think about your non negotiables and you're like, okay, what are my couple for each area or each garden? And it feels like you need to start all these things and you want to completely revolutionize your routine and your calendar and your schedule, which is great. Start with one thing at a time, right? Keep doing your routine as it is now and change one thing. Once that becomes habit and it feels normal and you feel like it's just default, then add the next one. If you go and change everything all at once, it creates a lot of instability and discomfort, and you're very unlikely to stick to them all at the same time. So those would be like my two tips around habits.
I think that's wonderful. I really like the replacing the something with the something else. Yeah, this has been so wonderful, Erica. It's so wonderful to hear all this information and just to have a conversation with you. Really lovely. So thank you so much for giving me your time and being here with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Amy. I appreciate it.
It's all right. I will let you know when everything goes out and send you bits and bobs. If you want anything, just let me know.
Okay, perfect.
Oh,
Thank
perfect.
you.
Thank you so much.
Nice to connect with
You as well. My theory is that this just kind of develops naturally as you kind of go along. What I've been doing is kind of like stopping, breathing, reflecting, and then figuring out my new direction and just kind of taking a step forward into that.